kind of tee up who you are, but then also what Conative is and does, just as we head into this conversation about data quality and silos and all these things that you know a lot about. Give us a quick introduction on yourself and Conative.
Sure. So, Sean, thanks for having me. And I'm Mike Lee. I'm the founder of Conative AI. So, I came from Vietnam to New York in 2005 and started my first company in 2007, which is a digital marketing agency that I scaled to over 100 people working with a lot of e-commerce brands and enterprise clients in the last 18 years. And by working with a lot of brands, I see a common problem. Uh, the many brands I know underestimate the impact of the stock issues to the marketing performance Be- because the two team inventory and marketing team are often work in silos. And I also dig deeper and see that a lot of inventory teams also use spreadsheet for inventory planning, a very manual labor intensive process, and use some kind of rule-based and simple comparison between this year and last year's sales to do the planning, which lead to a lot of like overstock and understock problems that reduce the brand performance. So I create Conative AI, a predictive inventory platform to solve this problem. So I've been working in this space for about like 3 years now with the product, and we have a proprietary AI models to predict the sales with deep learnings. Uh, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Inventory and demand, and it feels like one of those spaces where when things go wrong, they're very wrong, and you're either missing out on huge opportunities to make money, or you have a bunch of extra stock laying around, and it can quickly become a large issue. So we will definitely get to kind of the specific inventory planning and demand forecasting and kind of what Conative does. But zooming out a little bit, you've said that most companies don't have a data quantity problem. And I totally agree with this, but they have a data quality problem. What does it mean to have a data quality problem? And where do you see that showing up when you start working with new teams and clients with Conative?
So if you see all the brands like fashion brand, beauty brands, and many other brands, they have a lot of data. You have data from e-commerce backend, you have data from ERP system, you have marketing channels data, you have Google Analytics, and you have triple whales and all this data, right? So the data, the brand have a lot. But the real problem come from a few things. The first thing is the data consolidation. How you bring those data sources together to make more informed decisions. And that's where you found a lot of data sources have different numbers, and the data discrepancy is really complex, right? And and also like I give you an example. We work with the brands that they have data from the ERP system, and the category structure on the ERP system is different from the category structure they have on Shopify. So when you put data together, you have to choose one source to be the main source, and the data you pull from the other source become very confusing. And what really more fascinating is that actually both of the category structure become outdated over time. So they maintain a third category structure on spreadsheets and actually use that category structure as the source of truth to put it in. And because of that, the brand in many cases cannot even trust their own data, and that create a lot of challenge when the quality of your decisions is reflected by the quality of your data. So when you cannot have good data, uh, it really reduces the kind of result you can get out of your decision. And another thing that really important in data is the data tagging. So when you work with, for example, fashion brand, you don't only look at the style, the color, and the size. You want to know the forms, the materials, and you want to tag those information properly. So when you look at the data, you can see exactly what is going on and what is the key winning factor for the brand and what slows us down. So data tagging is also another area that pretty complex when you get deep into it. So those are the areas that I would say really important in data quality, that we have to invest a lot on data audit, cleaning, and mapping to prepare the data for us to make good decisions as well as good, and also all the AI models need very clean and accurate data to do the proper forecasting.
It does feel like the last conversation I had on this show was all about tech debt, and it was centered around infrastructure, specifically around the website. And it feels like this is a very parallel conversation to say you're making decisions around what data you have, but also how that data interacts with other sources and how you use that. And in some cases, like you mentioned, adding a third source to create your own source of truth between all the madness, and your head starts spinning. Then you have all this debt built up where you can't make decisions, you can't move quickly. And I know that one of the things that tends to happen in organizations based on onboarding new tools and data sources is that silos start to show up. In your space, from what you see, what does data getting siloed look like? What are some of the most common silos you see? Because I know that it's not just an all-in-one thing. It can be a marketing, it can be a data team, it can be CRM, it can be finance. What kind of data silos are you seeing, and what problems are those creating for people trying to get work done every day?
So there are many kind of silos in an organization, but the silo that I see that hurting the brands the most is the silo between inventory and marketing, because the brand kind of like underappreciate how inventory situation affect the marketing performance. I first give you an example. There's a brand I know that for 1 month the sales suddenly dropped 30%. And the leadership questioned the marketing team why the sales go down, what is it going wrong. But the next month the sales shot right up. And it is just because they restocked one SKU. That single SKU drive 4 times higher revenue than the second highest revenue SKU of the entire portfolio. And that changed the entire marketing performance just by restock one key SKU. Now I give that example because first it's real. It also shows how big the impact is between inventory and marketing. It's not about your targeting, your creative, your marketing channels performance. It can be some simple thing happen on the inventory side that really hurt your marketing, uh, you know, results. No, that's the first thing. But brand don't see that because there is a silos between marketing team and inventory teams. There are two problems with the silos. But the first problem is that they look at different tools. Inventory teams look at inventory management tools and different kind of analytics, and marketing tools look at a lot of different marketing analytic tools, but those data sets are separated. And the second thing is that also they like each other, but they don't know the other world, the other size, like the world, the expertise is very different. So the inventory planners may not know what really matter for the marketing team, and the other way around, so they cannot share insight effectively. And that's why the silos happen. So that's why for various brands that we work with, there is a very interesting fact that we may have one inventory person sit on the marketing weekly calls to learn about what is the marketing directions and make sure that the stock and inventory is ready for all the upcoming marketing campaigns, as well as share all the shipment delays and the stock out situation so the marketing team can plan around that. And that really helped with the silos a lot. And so that's the one thing I would say, the silo between inventory and marketing team is a very big thing. And also you want an analytic tool that can unify the data on both sides, the inventory data and marketing data, that allow you to make that like cross team decision making more effective.
You already mentioned one way to bridge that gap, and having something as simple as having somebody on a team join other meetings.
Yeah.
And I know that that can really, really help and just get visibility into what's going on. But to kind of ground this as much as possible, it's great to say, yes, these silos exist, but what challenges then do people see culturally, operationally, when they try and break these silos down? What sort of barriers pop up when they say, okay, we've recognized that we have an issue and we want to fix it? What challenges do they usually see then?
So one of the main challenge when things are silos, we kind of like stay on our own lane and try to, when something issue happen, we say there is somebody else's issues. It's not my area's problem. There is more like the other side problem, and we want to avoid that kind of culture or mindset, because as a brand we want to grow, we want everybody work together as a team. So we know that part of the challenge is that we don't have enough visibility on the other side to make decision together and make and work in sync. So that's part of the problem, I want to solve with Conative AI is that I want to create a unified data platform that brand team, the marketing team, and inventory team can look at it together and make decisions in sync. Now, for example, you can together look at the product performance and see that, okay, this product is trending. Could you, and we are putting more advertising dollars on this SKU, could you inventory side, like make sure you buy more product or prioritize the POs for us on those SKUs so we can maximize revenue for that SKUs group, right? Or you can say that, okay, want to pick a new winner so we see this product, even the sales is low, but the conversion rate is high. Only the traffic is low. If I boost more traffic on the marketing side, I need you to buy more product, more items on this for this specific SKU, so we can increase and have a new winners for the brand. So culturally, it's more like the encouraging the collaborations within teams and know that we are working toward the same goal. It doesn't matter if it's on inventory side or marketing side, but when we sync our insight, we can do very way better for both inventory and marketing.
Hmm. And I know that when we've talked before, you mentioned that historically inventory and campaign planning tools have been rule based, basically, and very simple, because what you're describing is kind of a dream situation where you have tools that flag insights, that flag trends, that flag things that you can take action on that can have an outsized impact on performance. Um, Most people's situation is more like we're scrambling through different documents and paying attention to certain metrics that may not really be the thing. I know Conative AI, leverages AI and brings in AI forecasting to this picture. Can you describe what that looks like and how that shifts things specifically for inventory and campaign planning when you introduce the almighty AI?
So first thing is that before I talk about the difficulty in consolidating data from multiple sources, that's why most brands use spreadsheets because they export data from multiple sources to spreadsheet and try to merge those spreadsheets together in multiple rows, right? And in spreadsheets, the only thing you can do is rules. You create rules in spreadsheets to do the planning and try to identify outliers, and that's very manual, very uh, human error proning process. Is very easy to make errors from that process, right? And then when you use some like enterprise traditional inventory planning tools, they will use some kind of like mathematic formula or even machine learning to do forecasting, which is a form of advanced math, which you can put more input in. Now you consider today the deep learning models is a multi-layer machine learning model. So you imagine you have 1,000 rules blended into a very large model that already understands your data and very fluid in giving out the forecast with better accuracy. So with that, the power of deep learning is that you can control the risk and outlier case much better than the previous generations of solutions because you can add more layers to mitigate the risk that you see. Also, machine learning and deep learning can also take on a lot more input than the previous approach. So you can have input like, you know, the historical stock out data fit into the model. Now, assuming that last season, last month, this year, this month last year, you sell 1,000 units, but you only sell 15 days a month because you're out of stock the other 15 days of the month, right? But this year you have stock for the full month. You cannot rely on last year's sales to forecast on this year. That's why the old school inventory planning methods rely on historical sales pattern. Usually it will not reflect the complexity of reality. But for deep learning, we can put that kind of data fit in to control the risk. So AI will understand and forecast this year way better than relying solely on his historical data. Also, you can have factors like the recent sale velocity. Like for example, last year this product selling very well because it's on trend, but this year it's out of stock and the demand is low. You also, in that kind of case, cannot rely on last year's sales to forecast on this year anymore because the trend is over. Now, those situations are outlier cases, usually account for the biggest mistakes in inventory planning and expose the brand to the biggest risk. So deep learning, because of that capability, can solve those outlier cases much better than the previous methods.
Is there a connection between inventory and demand planning and the power of AI here and what we would put out when it comes to pricing and bundling? And I'm just thinking about how you're talking about kind of these macro factors of fashion trends, but there's all obviously also economic trends and all sorts of consumer trends that say, yes, I want this item because it's in stock and it's my color or whatever, but it's also something I can afford. How can teams take into account that sort of somewhat subjective macroeconomic or macro whatever factors when it comes to their inventory and demand planning?
So for AI, we can always put those like macro data feed into the model and have the model learn the impact of those macro factors to the demand forecasting. However, that should be a test. So we put those data feed in to see how big the factor influence the overall forecasting. Now, one interesting uh, thing that I realized when I do the AI forecasting for inventory is that some factors have very big impact to the output. And some factors we think it will have a big impact, but it actually do not have a big impact. For example, weather have very big impact to the output, right? Some other factors may not. Some other factors just purely black swan. So because of that, when and also some brand react more sensitive with some macro factors, and some brand react less sensitive. And because of that, we we can turn on or off the data feed and see and measure the accuracy of the forecast when we add layers of macro factor into the forecasting to see if it's a forecast or it's not, or just a noise. So that is something important. So we always want to change that, but also sometimes it helps, sometimes it actually not.
When teams go from what we'll call spreadsheet based planning to agentic AI forecasting in this really empowered future, I think that we're talking about some of the outcomes of the business impact, but the team members who are in that, who are operating in this, what would be some of the tangible impact that they would feel from that shift?
So for Conative, there are three things that we describe when they use AI for the inventory planning and buying. The first thing is the feeling easy and free because all the data is already collected for you, and all the baseline forecasting is already available for you to use without almost like no effort, with like almost like no effort at all. So all you need to do is using your judgment to decide that whether you agree with AI forecast or you want to tweak it a little bit further. But 90% of the hard work is gone on the data side and on the calculation side. The second feeling, you can feel confident that AI use a very reliable method that is superior from the previous approach. So the accuracy and performance actually is improving from whatever baseline you had before. And AI have a fail-safe mechanism that even in case you blindly trust the forecast, actually there are principles within the model that prevent the risk to be too high, just even in case AI is wrong. So there are still safe mechanisms to make sure that we don't expose the brain to too much risk. And the third feeling is a feeling proactive. You're always on top of the situation because you know what is going on and you know what is ahead instead of constantly catching up.
I want to tie this back to data quality a little bit too, because I think that as we're describing this sense of freedom and ease of use with data and kind of this great place to be in as a team operationally. It would take some work for teams to get there or to get prepared to be there because they have a mountain of data. Obviously, if you're just starting a new brand, you're in a different situation. But let's say you're a brand that's been around for a while and you have your head spinning a little bit because you have several different data sources. If you're advising, say, a mid-market brand today, what steps should they take to prepare their data for a future with AI forecasting?
So, in my view, the first step is only start with the goal. You want to see what type of decision create the biggest impact for your sales as your goal, positive and negatively. So there are kind of decisions that can bring a lot of success and the kind of issues that cause a lot of problems and what kind of data that create that result and make sure that for any data that you need to make the right decision, the data is ready, is clean, and is refreshed often. So the very thorough data audit process is important because data is a lot and can be overwhelming. You want to start first with the type of data that really matter for the brand. And from that, we can talk about leveraging a data technology or data platform that can collect those data in real time, merge them, cleaning them, so that once the process is complete, the use of data become easy. You are right that the first step of deploying data and AI, usually it takes hard work. That's actually why it took me over a year and a half just to build out a data platform that can aggregate data from multiple brands, multiple categories with completely different data structure into a standardized data system that can be leveraged across multiple industry and that can be fit into the AI system. So the effort first start with the assessment of what really create an impact and what data you need to generate those impact and have them ready.
Yeah, I think that's music to a lot of people's ears is when we think about this transition, everybody sees the benefit in this situation that we're talking about, but they may fear the workload that goes in changing because I think historically you want to change your email platform, you want to change your CRM. It's a huge project. But I think the way a lot of these tools like Conative are being created, you've taken that into consideration and said we have to make this easy for people to do it. They understand the benefits, but part of that is the transition. And I think about, you're talking about like what can have the biggest impact positively and negatively. It's similar to website optimization, similar to experimentation, where we look at the potential impact of something. Like pulling a small lever can have a huge impact on the overall website success on our side. So it's very similar in that way. When you look ahead into, we're nearing the end of 2025, but into 2026 too, what has you most excited about where this is all heading? Obviously Conative is still relatively new, so the future of Conative is exciting, but what else has you excited as you look forward?
So I bring up one point from what you talked about earlier in the transition process, right? I believe that tools like Conative, when we build it out, we take over the complexity for the brand. So the brand don't need to go through that complex process like they used to, so that they can focus more on the usage part, leveraging data and AI to create value. Because that's why the technology exists, to solve the complexity problem so we can focus on the value. And that brings to the point that what I'm excited the most about the future is the future of agentic AI in inventory space. Now, you know that the first breakthrough is going to have a strong data technology to solve the data problem. And then you have the, like in case of Conative, the proprietary AI model for forecasting. And the next step is that now you have the data, now you have the forecast. How can you extract value quickly. And currently, you have to look at a lot of data to understand what is going on and to make the right decision. But with AI agents, now AI can surface what really matter across those seas of data, what you really need to focus on. So you really quickly zoom into what really matter and make quick decision, generate value much faster. Now we can have AI agent, and that's the kind of AI. We also build a system that can create AI agents that do specific tasks. You can have agents that recommend you which product you should carry over to the next season or which product you should discontinue. You can have AI agent to analyze the sales and see that what are the winning factors that drive you success with this product or this trend. You get an AI agent to flag you the unusual sales behaviors that you should know about to prepare. This product somehow tick up the sale really fast. You need to prepare for that. Or this product, like the sale just dropped. You want to look into why and solve the problem, right? And you can have AI agent to just place PO for you ongoing for like consistent core products. So all of the day-to-day tasks is gone using AI agents so that we can focus on the big picture idea and action that really move the needle and change the brand result like significantly. And you can let go a lot of like day to day like tedious works. So I think that is the future of agentic AI, and AI agent can do more and more advanced tasks than before. And this this trend going very fast. We see AI capability change like every month. It can do some new things, so that is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you're dead on that. That is something to be very excited about. And if you're a team that's optimizing and showing up to meetings and everybody has an opinion and there's this analytical fog, no matter how much data you have, the insights are just missing and you're left kind of scratching your head and guessing. Now, in many cases, it's much smarter than that, but it's not as simple and almost foolproof as something that's analyzing 100 times, 1,000 times more data than you ever would if you're sitting down with your spreadsheets. That's unbelievably exciting. If somebody's listening to this and they are as excited as we are, where can they connect with you and where can they learn more about Conative and what Conative does?
So uh, thank you for that, and everybody who interested in predictive AI and agentic AI in the inventory optimization and forecasting space, you can reach out to me. My email is mikelee@conative.ai, so Mikele at conative.ai. Our website is conative.ai, and you can reach out to me via LinkedIn as well, uh, on LinkedIn and slash like in slash Mike Lee CBI, MikeLE CBI.
Awesome. Mike, I really appreciate you carving out time to share this with us. Like I said, it is a space that is completely changing and modifying the way people even think about their work. So if we come back and have a similar conversation in 6 months, you might be speaking about a completely different function for these agents. 3 months, 2 months, I don't know. But I do really appreciate your time and knowledge that you're sharing with us today. And wish Conative the best of luck as you head towards the end of the year.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Lucky Orange Show. Before we go, if you haven't tried Lucky Orange yet, head over to www.luckyorange.com for a free 7-day trial of our leading conversion rate optimization toolkit. What's in that toolkit? Well, let's start with session recordings and heat maps. With session recordings, you can watch a full playback of an entire visitor journey on your website. Everywhere they click, scroll, move, everything they do in your site, a full playback. So you can see what's getting in the way of conversions and what is getting people over that finish line to convert. With dynamic heat maps, you can see the average visitor behavior on a page. So you can see clicks, moves, and scrolls. You can see how far down the page the average visitor is scrolling. And if something is below that line, that means that more than 50% of visitors are not seeing that. Lucky Orange also offers tools like live chat, announcements, and surveys so that you can communicate with your website visitors in real time. So again, if you have not tried Lucky Orange or if you're not a user yet, head over to luckyorange.com, check it out, 7-day free trial with no credit card required. If you're a Shopify store owner, head over to the Shopify App Store to download the Lucky Orange app to your store today, as well as BigCommerce, HubSpot, Square, and many more. Check us out, and happy optimizing.